Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today sponsored by Passat Motors, celebrating over 30 years in the business. Let them show you why they are a top-rated pre-owned car dealer. Learn more at Passat Motors, BASANT Motors.com. Seahawks over the Rams, 19-16 in overtime. Detroit stuns the Pack 30-16 hours later. That means the Seahawks are going to the NFL postseason. They're in San Francisco Saturday as part of Wild Card weekend. Here to talk about the Seahawks for a second straight show, Ian Furness from KJR Sports Radio in Seattle, or should that be Ian Furness from Czech Television?
Czech Television.
In Victoria. A daily regular. How are you?
I'm good. You might want to get that okayed by my friends at Fox 13, but sure, I'm you know what, we crossed the border, it doesn't really matter, and it's, back-to-back shows. My goal was to be a co-host on this show, and I'm excited to be back. Here we are.
Yeah, you're one step closer, Ian. Hey, did anyone – I can't – I mean, it was a memorable visit from you on Friday, but I can't remember exactly what you said. Did anybody see this? Everybody was complaining about it, though. Anybody who cares about the Seahawks. The scheduling was just awful. Did anybody see this playing out the way it did?
Well, no. I mean, if for no other reason – look, Detroit – yeah, they play hard, and their coach is rah-rah guy, Dan Campbell, and all those things. But the reality is that they haven't been good in the state of Wisconsin, whether it was in the old Milwaukee County Stadium or, for the last, 2.5 decades at Lambeau. I mean, they were 3-28 in their last 31 games there. Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers in December and January regular season games at Lambeau were 10-0 since LaFleur took over. How could you see it coming? I mean, and then when Detroit literally has nothing to play for except for pride, when they find out Seattle wins about an hour before the game that kicks off, you think there's no chance. And lo and behold, man, give the Lions all the credit. They turned it up a notch. The emotion in that game was something else. Sometimes it's hard to see emotion, I think, on TV in a sport. I think you could see it from the Lions players and give them credit. And they did Seattle a favor, and that favor is paid off by the fact that they get to go to San Francisco to the Seahawks and take on the hottest team in the NFL that has won 10 straight games.
Yep. Was this all things considered, because the first step was done by the Seahawks? They won that game. It was in overtime. It was close. All of that, but they did win. Was this Pete Carroll's best coaching job since he landed in Seattle?
Yeah, Donnie, I think it is. I just. The first year when they went to the playoffs in 2010, his first year coaching, they were not 7-9, in the old 16-game schedule. I mean, so they had a losing record. They backed in, kind of like Tampa did this year in the NFC South, but they weren't a very good football team. They had a lot of flaws, a lot of holes, and then the next year they were 7-9 as well. But then they started that long run in 2012. No one saw this coming. I thought that they would be. I think when we would have talked in September, I know we like to bring up, past Ian, misses, and there's plenty of them. But I think when we talked in August or September, I probably would have told you I didn't believe the 5 or 5.5, whatever Vegas did at the over-under. I thought with a Pete Carroll coach team, they would be competitive. I thought they'd be in the 7-win range. I thought they would be good enough and they would be competitive. But the fact that they're 9-8 and got to the postseason and won some games along the way that you just kind of shake your head at, it's remarkable. And he took Geno Smith, a guy that had barely ever been a starter in the NFL. When he wasn't successful, and made him into a Pro Bowl player. And he set all kinds of Seahawk records this season. It's a remarkable job. They're not a great football team. They have a lot of flaws. They have a lot of holes. But lo and behold, they're one of the top 14 teams in the league because they're in the postseason.
In the biggest, so Russell Wilson, 5-12, Broncos, his season's over. There is nobody on this planet that could have predicted this. Nobody. Can you even remotely say this before the season was something similar to this could happen?
Well, Rick, that's the beautiful thing about sports. The three of us joke all the time, right? We have fun and stuff, but at the end of the day, we love sports. And why do you love sports? Because it's the greatest reality television or whatever you want to call it out there, entertainment. I just went through the whole thing with Detroit and Green Bay. Yeah. Nobody expects that to happen. Seattle is expected to win 5 games this season. Denver is expected to win somewhere around 11 to 13 games this season, and it all of that switched. Detroit. Well, look at Detroit for a second. They were 1-7. And they got red hot at the end. By the way, Seattle gets to go. They get to go back to Detroit next year and thank the Lions in person. They get a return trip because of the way the schedules match up, second place from that division. So I just think it's the great thing about sports. You have things. Sometimes things just go as expected, and here we go. But there's so many times when that isn't the case, and this is one of those cases. And Seattle's in for it tough on Saturday. That's a really good football team. But I, at the same time, I guess there's just a small part of me that thinks, hey, Pete Carroll gets those guys to believe, much like Detroit yesterday, they don't have any pressure. Like you're playing with house money right now. Everyone expects you to go out and have fun and see what happens. Okay, what a great year in Seattle. Okay, first the Mariners, right? Now Seahawks now. Your hockey team is red hot. They're 5th in the Western Conference. They've won 4 straight. It's a good time to be a sports fan in Seattle. Rick, I think in terms of point percentage, you're number 3, aren't they? Or 4, maybe 4, right? I mean, we don't, we're sophisticated enough down here in the States. We can go through the games in hand and all that, right? That's what we worry about down here. I'm not sure what you guys, the exchange rate and all that, but it's, I think I saw, and I haven't done it. Listen, that's a lot of research, and frankly, I did morning TV today, and I'm working on. I need a coffee or two to get me going. Mm-hmm. But I believe I saw. This is the first time the Seahawks and the Mariners have been in the postseason the same season. Yes, right, 45 years, right? And, wow. And so then it never happened with all 3 teams. The third being the Sonics. This year, the third being the Kraken. It appears that's going to be the case as well. And so, yeah, man, it's a kind of a fun time to be a Seattle fan. Especially because it was unexpected, like we just said. Mariners were 10 games out of first place, or out of 10 games below 500, I should say. On June 26th or 27th, they were done. 10 games below 500. They crank it up. They get into the postseason. That was unexpected. They beat Canada's team in the playoffs, which is a glorious thing. And then, the Seahawks do something nobody expected them to do either. And frankly, as Donnie will tell you. At least one person on this show didn't expect the Kraken to be as good as they are, and lo and behold, look what they are as well. Okay, I won't bring that up. Hey, and by the way, we have Thomas Milich on the show at the top of the hour. The Thunderbirds also having a tremendous season down there in Seattle. Hey, can you listen? Can you believe what's going on in the Dub right now? Oh, like Kamloops traded their entire franchise for. Little Olin Zellweger, right? The defenseman that was playing 85 minutes a game in the World Juniors. I'm not sure if he's got any legs. That poor kid probably has any legs left. Yeah. And Seattle's, just a total wagon right now. They're cruising along. Look what they're doing. And I think they're going to get Lambert, right? It sounds like they're going to get him back, him down. Maybe, just maybe, fellas, this is a year that the Western Hockey League at least wins 1 game in the MC, right? Maybe they can get one. But Milich is a great story. I for the life of me, I can't understand. I know that the NHL is like every other league, right? It's you're passing up guys because of their height and weight, but that kid's a gamer. We saw that in the postseason last year in the WHL. We saw that in World Juniors this year. He's a great story. I know he's a local guy for you too, and I can't wait to see. Someone will draft him finally this year, and it'll be nice to see. So he's 6 feet 175, considered too small. Ian, same measurements as Patrick Waugh. Just shows you how the game has changed. Is he really? Is he really? See, now I can tell the gears are turning. You're going to use this on your show, and I want credit. I'll give you full credit. Well, because I'm thinking back, like when I was in Tri-Cities doing games, Brian Boucher, I think, was like 6'2", 6'3". Yeah. And he was considered a really big goalie. Monster, yeah. Right? Yeah. And Ole Kolzig, who was a part owner of that team, he'd come back and train in the summer, and Ole was 6'4", and he was huge. A giant. Kolzig was the giant back then, right? Yeah. And, we were with, when I first started doing games, Chris Osgood was here. What was Ozzy, like 5'8"? 5'9"? Wasn't very big. Diminutive. Last I checked, he's got some some hardware on his fingers, right? So, Milic is a good story, but hey, that's why we're here, for good stories and all that, right? And by the way, can I know we got to go, right? We got to go.
No, it's okay.
I just a quick question: are we okay, Rick? You and my buddy Thomas Drance, are we okay there? What's going on?
I don't like him. I don't like him, Ian. I don't like him.
Oh, you know what? So he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy.
Sometimes.
Is that the deal?
Sometimes.
Okay. I was concerned as a loyal listener of the podcast. I was a little concerned that there was a little back and forth there.
There was some heat there. There was some heat there. You should listen to us talk on the phone off the air. 40 minutes of F-bombs, yelling.
Wow. And they come from which side? You or from him?
Both.
Who do you think?
Equal.
Donnie, who was right in that argument?
Rick's beside me now, so I'll say him.
Yeah. Okay. So it was Drancer. I just wanted to.
Perfect. Ian, thanks for this, and also for a second there, I thought you were going to go through every goaltender who's ever played in Seattle. So also thanks for not doing that. Appreciate it. You bring
Robbie Tallis, Corey Schwab.
Okay, we're good. We're Don Head. Look it up. Okay, thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.